Hi there, my name is Mala Ramakrishnan. I'm the founder and managing partner of Progressive Ventures. With me today, I have a very special person, Miriam Daniel. Hi, VP and General Manager of Google Maps. Really thrilled to have you, Miriam.
I'm thrilled to be here with you, Mala.
So tell me more about yourself, about your background and your journey here.
Um, so I come from India, from the southern part of India, actually, and made my way to an engineering school that was very far from home. It was actually quite an adventure, getting my family to accept that I should go that far and do engineering. But I prevailed in some ways, and getting that CS degree in engineering then brought me a lot of other opportunities.
So you went to BITS Pilani.
Yes, I did go to BITS Pilani in India, and then worked for a bit at Tata Consultancy in India, and then came over to the US. And I was working, of course, in software as an engineer in various different industries, I would say from insurance to some medical fields and so on. And then at one point back in 2000, I just applied to Intel in California because I just wanted to be in a warm place after being in Louisville, Kentucky for some
So
time.
you worked as a software engineer in Kentucky.
Yes. And I actually moved as a software engineer to Intel.
Intel.
Yes. And for the first 5 years of my career at Intel, I was very much a hands on programmer and working on the branding program, the Intel Inside branding program for a long time.
Very cool.
And then there was a pivot in my career when I wanted to get closer to the core business of Intel, which was obviously building chipsets, but Intel was also going through a transformation to actually build more platforms and vertical solutions for the digital office and digital enterprise. So that was a little interesting to me because I was in the IT side of Intel. And so moving into building the entire digital office solution that Intel could offer other IT enterprises was really interesting.
Tell a little bit more on that. How hard was it to transition out of an engineering role? A lot of people try and do that.
That is true. Um, it typically only happens if you have sponsors. So
Yeah.
I think you're going to get to this later on in the conversation, maybe, but you need sponsors that spot the potential in you and are willing to take the bet on you.
Mhm.
So one of my managers who had moved into that sort of a role was looking for more product folks. And knowing that I'm an engineering leader, he reached out and he said, I need somebody who knows the IT enterprise really well to come and pitch what the product solution should look like that Intel should offer other enterprises.
Mhm.
And so it was kind of like you connect the dots. You are a domain expert in that
Right.
field, and so making that move from engineering to product and carrying over that transferable expertise is how you, I think, break in when you want to go from one job family to another.
Mhm.
And then getting into product took a few jumps. There's a lot to learn. When you're even in one company, and Intel was a big, glorious company. So I went and learned enterprise technologies, streaming technologies for the home, mobile and cellular and service provider, businesses. And eventually Intel also moved into building mobile platforms, like tablets and phones at one point. It was back in 2000, between 2008 and 2012. So I had the opportunity to take on technical assistantship for a general manager of the mobility group.
Wow.
So it was once again a big shift in career again, going away from doing product to kind of learning general management skills. And, that taught me a lot
And
as
again,
well.
you learned a sponsor that supported it.
A sponsor referred me to the role.
Nice.
Right. And it was a completely new, GM who didn't know me from Adam. But because it came through a referral, I got the opportunity to interview for that
So
role.
tell us more about that. In a big company, isn't it hard to go tell your manager you want to do something else and have that person recommend you for that something else?
It used to be hard. I don't think it's that hard anymore because I think the sign of a good leader is to want to grow your people.
Right.
And you want to invest in them and you want them to have a bright career and you want them to feel challenged in what they're doing, whether that's with you or somewhere else.
Right.
And some of my best employees are ones that have found their own path. And, it always comes to a point where you're constantly having that career conversation with them. And when the right opportunity comes, you know it and they know it.
Right.
Right. But anyway, so back to this journey. I did a lot of things in the mobility group, including learning how to build phones and what technology goes into phones and things like that. It was a tumultuous time in the phone industry between Nokia and Android and iPhone emerging and things like that. I won't go into all those details, but one day I got a call. It was from Amazon, and they were looking for a director, but they wouldn't tell me what it was for. And so it was kind of like walking out of Intel into a new job, but not knowing what you're getting into. But some of my sponsors and mentors at that time said, why not take a risk? Just take a bet, go. And one of the reasons I decided to make that move is I've been working in the B2B space for a long time, and I wanted to get closer to the end user and the consumer and get into B2C.
That's another difficult transition. I've talked to so many people from hardware companies trying to break into software, especially product management roles.
Yeah.
So it's like you've made these multiple hops throughout your career. So tell us more about that. They called you, or you were actively putting it out there?
Everybody gets calls here and there. You decide what to respond to and what to not respond to. And this was one time when I just took the call.
You took the call.
And
it's Amazon.
It's actually a key learning as well. Sometimes you just have to take the call, and see what's on the other side. And actually, in this instance, I didn't know what was on the other side. I just took a bet and went because I wanted to be closer to end users.
Yeah.
And
are you still in touch with your sponsors from your software engineering job?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. And, we can talk about that too. However, I walk in on day one, Amazon was like, welcome to the Fire Phone team. And I think many of you know that, the Fire Phone was a big bet and a big failure.
Yeah.
So it was also a little bit of my oh shit moment, because I was just coming off a tumultuous time working with the mobile industry. And I was like, not another phone. But I was in. This was my job and my role. So it was like, becomes one of those moments where you just have to commit and move on.
Yeah. And then you're navigating your career in Amazon despite your product failing, and as that being your first step into the company.
I would say one of the first documents I wrote and went into a big Jeff Bezos meeting was a postmortem document for the Fire Phone. And being the last person on the ship and the person to actually write that document, almost felt like it would be a career limiting move. Maybe I was done here in this company, But it was also, I always say, a great lesson from great leader on how to deal with failures, how to not shy away from taking big risks and big bets. So I actually felt I walked in feeling very, very worried. I walked out feeling very inspired.
Wow.
That meeting.
So you presented it to Jeff Bezos.
And all of the, VPs that have been there long before me, right? And there were a lot of good learnings. And then I had the opportunity to say, what do you want to do next? And, Amazon did this really, really well. And I spotted one of the things, which is now known as Alexa and Echo. And it was one of those voice technology things that I'd already worked on a little bit in Intel's chips.
Yes.
And so I said, I think there's a future here. I think the way in which humans interact with computers is going to change. There's something here that I instinctively feel drawn to. So I said, that's what I want to work on. And then the next 8 years were a lot of fun.
That's incredible. So you worked on Alexa for 8 years. So you're like one of the founders of Alexa for all purposes.
There were people working on it before me, but yes, it was one of the early people in that team.
Founding team, yeah.
The founding team. And, one thing that was common is we all were inspired by, the computer, the AI in Star Trek. I had grown up watching Star Trek quite a bit. So that was another piece of attraction for me. But anyway, over the 8 years, there was a lot of learning on, how to build V0 products, how to change the paradigm of how humans interact with AI, and even quickly iterating on a concept that you thought was great, but once it gets in the hands of users, you learn a lot. You listen to their feedback, and you'll just have to iterate and pivot. So there was a lot of that going on over the 8 years. But I think at the end of the 8 years, I realized, okay.
Alexa did a lot of things right. What do you think it was that changed things for us with Alexa? I mean, I don't think any of the other products previous to that got adopted as well as Alexa did. And even today, I have an Alexa in my living room.
Thank you.
Right?
There are a lot of other products that I think you can draw parallels with, but I think the difference with Alexa was voice and AI was already there.
Yeah.
There were a couple other companies that actually had that product. But, we often talk about finding the product market fit,
Yeah.
right? You already had voice when you called customer service with
Right.
different companies.
Right.
You already had voice on phones, right? And we iterated on putting voice into so many different hardware form factors. But the thing that resonated the most was putting it into a speaker, right? Who doesn't like music?
Right.
You might like different genres of music, but
true.
everybody, every soul on earth likes some form of music. And the music industry was also going through a transformation where everything was getting, more digitized and streaming. So this was a great opportunity. So you're not fiddling with, how to bring your tapes out, or how to go subscribe to different services. Just ask. Alexa, can you play this music?
Yeah.
So we landed on the form factor, and I think the form factor gave us that product market fit.
I see.
All the other use cases followed. We found that people wanted to set timers and alarms because every morning they want to be woken up at the time, right? Wake me up at 6 a.m. Or people wanted to put things on their calendars. People wanted to set reminders. One surprising thing we found was people even were talking to Alexa, the AI, in an anthropomorphic way, as if it's another human being. And they were actually asking Alexa, what color do you like? What actor do you like? What, a lot of these things that you would only ask another human being.
I remember my children asking it jokes.
Yes.
And going back and forth with that. Not jokes.
Or people would just declare their emotions to Alexa. So we quickly had to pivot,
LLMs.
Iterate, and give Alexa a personality. Help Alexa answer some of these really sensitive questions. What sports team do you like and why, and things like that.
Oh, you should train it.
Anyway, so there was a lot we learned as people used the product. And as people used the product, it went way beyond just that music use case. It's just, bloomed from there. And we even built in smart home security. So you could just say, turn the sprinklers on, or lock the door, or who's at the doorbell, turn the lights on,
But did you see adoption of Alexa increase as you added more and more of these features?
Absolutely. And as we internationalized, as we brought in other languages, and it wasn't just, supporting other languages, it was also what mattered.
So as you added new features, did you find that the growth picked up proportionately with Alexa?
Absolutely. Actually, it's most important to listen to the voice of the user.
Yeah.
We looked at where was the friction, and we fixed all those friction areas. We looked at where were there queries that we couldn't handle, and we saw the demand, and we immediately doubled down and put a team on it. Internationalization helped too. For example, internationalization doesn't just mean supporting 10 different languages in India or Hindi. It actually means supporting the local interests. If you don't have Bollywood, cricket, or astrology, so localization had to go much deeper, far beyond just language. Absolutely. So there were a lot of things we learned as we entered every new country.
How many countries did you deploy?
I don't know if I remember exactly, but all the major countries of the world. It's been a while. But yes, there was rapid adoption. And then we also had to bring Alexa into third-party devices, into cars and other things. So we worked on, enabling that, in a B2B ecosystem. We also had to, one of the learnings from Fire Phone was the app ecosystem really matters. The developer ecosystem really matters. That's how you get to scale. You can't build it all yourself. So, Alexa Skills was created, and we invited a developer community to come and create voice skills.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't know of that.
Yes, just even the fact that you could invoke your playlist on Spotify is because we integrated with Spotify. As a developer skill,
I see.
Or if you want to have,
so it's mostly third-party app integrations that were supported by the developer community.
Exactly.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah. So that was a fun ride.
And then how did Google happen?
Well, after working on something like Alexa, you always think about like, if I do make a move, it needs to be a move that is just as fulfilling.
Yeah.
And it's no longer about just building another piece of technology. And once again, the calls were coming, but there was one thing that piqued my interest, which was, an email about Google Maps.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd already done a lot of B2C. I loved it. I loved seeing the instant customer feedback, and adoption. So I was very particular that it needed to be a B2C role, right? But I also wanted something that was, truly fulfilling, life-changing in many ways.
It really is.
Yeah, the mission
life-changing to have
matters.
Google Maps. Yeah.
The mission matters.
What stage was Google Maps in when you transitioned in there?
Well, let me just say, I've only been at Google Maps for 4 years. There were a lot of great minds before me that invented it, that grew it to where it was even before I got there. So I'm actually standing on the shoulders of giants who have done a lot of invention here. So this was not a V0 type of thing for me.
Right.
This is more like, it's a mature product, but how do you scale it?
How do you scale it?
How do you scale it? And how do you modernize it? How do you adapt to the changing demands of the world now? And Google Maps just hit 20-year anniversary last year.
Really?
Yes,
That's
yes.
so hard to believe.
And
Wow.
and we publicly stated that we hit 2 billion users last year as well.
I saw that.
Right.
2.2 billion is what it says now.
And said now, exactly.
So you're touching 2.2 billion active users
On a monthly basis.
on a monthly
Yes.
basis.
And it's fantastic because it's one thing to say I'm growing from 0 to 1 or 1 to 100.
Yeah.
It's another thing
it's
to
totally
say
something else.
I am growing by another billion.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That is something. The scale at which you have to operate, the responsibility you have,
Yeah.
in keeping the data fresh and accurate and serving our users well.
And then there's the privacy aspect of it. There's integrity. There's so much to it.
There's a lot to it. But just the challenge of keeping, the map as fresh as possible and serving our users well, it's at planetary scales.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so that challenge appealed to me. So this was one of the things I was like, I can feel the mission, I can feel the passion, and I can feel the challenge.
And you're rocking it. So where is Google Maps going next?
It's a great question. Actually, just yesterday, we announced that Gemini, our AI assistant, is coming to Google Maps.
Wow.
And so you can think about this, right? Like people, as an end user, you think about Google Maps as, what's a big deal? I need to go from A to B, right? Even that was my first reaction when I got that call as well. But as you talk to more people, what you realize is, no, it's not as simple as that. The world has changed since we first built maps.
Right.
How people interact with digital tools has changed as well.
Right.
Roads have become complex. Traffic has become complex. You want people to drive safely and confidently and in a stress-free way. Even the road networks have become immensely complex with so many highways and interchanges, right? You can't keep up with everything unless it's your own neighborhood.
Right.
So it's really, really, important for the mapping tool to also adapt to how humans might interact with it. So we are bringing in voice into navigation. And it's almost like having that friend in the passenger seat where you can just ask, I don't know where I should turn. Where should I go next?
And the person will be asleep.
Exactly. Oh, you can wake up. or simply saying, I need to find a gas station. Or, the kids are hungry. Where can I stop on the way? And they only like this kind of food. And it can have a multi-turn conversation now. So
wow, it's finally here.
And you can even ask for the news or to keep you updated. So it's not just about navigation, it's everything.
How are you managing accuracy at that scale?
Well, it's the power of Gemini and the models. It's really, really powerful. And one thing I will say about AI is, if what worked 3 months ago is better today.
I know.
What worked a month ago is better today, right? And what you're working on and maybe some friction you're seeing will change next month, So this technology, generative AI, the ability to have natural interactions is just, improving so rapidly. But the one thing I'll also say is, it's not just about the AI. It's about having that fresh, accurate knowledge of the world that you can ground it on. That's what makes it trustworthy. right?
Right.
If we tell you that there is a gas station at the next intersection,
There
and
has
then
to
you
be one.
turn left, the gas station has to be there.
So you're continuously updating data by taking pictures.
Yes.
And is there human verification as well, or?
There's a lot that goes into it. There is, of course, a ton of aerial and satellite imagery that we then apply AI and extract, information from.
Right.
There's a lot of partnerships, governments, cities that we, get authoritative information from. Then we have a huge community of end users. They just love helping each other. They love drivers helping drivers, people in the community helping other people in the community. They supply map edits. They give us reviews about places. They tell us that there's a traffic incident on this road or traffic is slowed down.
And then Waymo, is Waymo part of your offering too?
Waymo's a part of Alphabet.
Yeah.
There is some underlying, data that is shared, but Waymo is one of those technologies that completely blows my mind.
Blows my mind. It changed my life.
Totally. If you say, what is that one thing that has really captured my imagination? It's actually this self-driving car. And every time I go to San Francisco, I cannot resist taking another ride. It's just amazing how far, that kind of technology has come as well.
Incredible. So where next from here? How are you going to scale Google Maps to more multi-billions of as the population grows?
There's always more users we can serve and better ways to serve them.
Is it just more coverage of the planet?
There is more coverage. There are many countries where we can improve coverage. There is more users. Their needs are different. Not everybody's looking for, where do I hang out on a Friday evening with friends? Their needs are more, I'm looking for this government service. I'm looking for this educational service. I'm looking for this little salon that does this kind of hairstyling. So
will it actually help me to ask Gemini, where are my friends hanging out this Friday evening, and so I can go hang out with them?
You got to give us permission to know where your friends are hanging out. But you could say, I want to hang out with my friends. You can ask Gemini, I want to hang out with my friends.
Right.
We like live music. We like this kind of vibe. We like to, have a few drinks. Where might we go, between here and there? Like if you live here and your friend lives in San Francisco, you would say, find a place midpoint. Yeah, Gemini can find things like that for you. Yeah.
That's going to be really, I think it's life altering to have these.
Exactly. So,
you're not wasting your time trying to figure out the logistics.
This is one of the things I often tell my teams as well. Finding that balance between innovating and operating. When you're serving 2 billion users, you have to operate well. You cannot take your eyes off the ball.
Yeah.
But you also cannot be complacent. You have to innovate and take big strides as well, right? Yeah. And so there is small incremental innovation and operation that happens on one side, and there is big leaps forward that you must continue to place bets on.
So tell us about your life outside work. What do you do for fun?
I love traveling. So it's kind of like this job is a job where my passion and my mission come together.
So you travel and you use the Google Maps wherever you go.
Yes, and I'm constantly using the product, filing bugs wherever I go.
Do you have to travel for work?
We do have teams around the world, so I do that. I do like taking a break now and then and traveling for fun as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one of the funnest things I did a couple of years ago is to walk the Camino.
Aha!
With one of my closest friends.
Who could that be?
My elementary school friend. And happens to be your sister.
My sister.
And, we walked across Spain from Sarria to Santiago. It was a 10-day walk. We walked through wooded areas, small towns, some cities. We were constantly looking for where we can rest our legs, get a drink, get something to nourish ourselves. How do I get to the next resting point? And maps did not fail. We even looked for a pharmacy. We needed a pharmacy for something. That is the power of something that you're fulfilling everyday needs for.
So inspiring
around the world. Yeah. But I also like hiking a little bit. I'm not a big hiker. I'm kind of like a moderate hiker, but I like going out. It's my thinking time as well.
So tell me about a book or a person that's inspired you so much that you would want to recommend it to the audience.
I'm currently reading Ethan Mollick's Co-Intelligence, I've just started it,
Uh-huh.
but it's more about living and working with AI. It's like cohabitation, how you just embrace AI in everything you do. It's not something you ignore. It's not something you resist. It's not something you should worry about. You should just embrace it into everything you do. So I find that really inspiring. So that's a book I've started.
Co-intelligence.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
Co-Intelligent. Podcast wise, over time I follow the acquired podcasts. It's interesting to see how different companies have risen, what led to their success, what were their pivotal moments. So I kind of follow that. Over the last couple of months, I think there's been some episodes on Google itself. So it's really interesting to see how, where some of the biggest innovations and AI innovations originated from. So acquired is something that keeps my interest. In terms of a person, I would say, first of all, I'm deeply inspired by my father. I would say he's a legend in his own way. Someone who taught me how it's always important to create, be creative, and persist and work hard, for what you want. Never shy away from hard work. But it's also, how to lead with a heart. The people around you are really, really important. Nurturing your teams, growing your teams, thinking of them as your family, is really important. I learned all of that from my father, who's a small businessman.
Oh wow!
And he's 85. I better get this right, or he'd be mad at me. But still running his business.
Oh wow!
Right. So I really learned a lot about embracing the people around you from him as well, and leading with heart. On the professional side, I would say I do have a mentor, Aisha Evans, who's currently CEO of Zoox. I've known her from my Intel days. But she's always given me the courage to stand tall, break barriers, have the courage to say things like it is and not mince words, and how to show up with confidence. And anytime I feel like I'm at a fork, I pick up the phone and call her, and she always picks up. That's the kind of mentors you need.
Very inspiring. I'm so inspired to know about all these sponsors and mentors that you've kept relationships with and have given you a leg up, and that you are doing the same as well for people who work for you.
Obviously, I mean, once you experience it, you cannot but pay it forward, right? So,
and you have female mentors. I have to confess, all my sponsors and advocates have been male.
Is that right?
And I love it. I gravitate towards it.
I don't think it makes that big a difference. I think it's,
and the person cares. I think the gender doesn't matter.
I also think it's about, you can have different mentors for different things.
Yeah, just like you can have friends for different things.
Exactly. If I'm really dealing with a challenging technology, disruptive problem, I might call somebody else. If I'm dealing with an organizational thing, I'd call somebody else.
Right.
If I'm thinking about how to coach and develop somebody that's hard to work with, I'd call somebody else. You lean on different people for different things. I think that's why it's important to nurture these long-term relationships.
Very inspiring. I just learned so much just listening to you. Any last words for our audience?
Well, I just want to say it's an intense moment for anybody in tech and even in non-tech at this time, because it feels like the landscape is shifting so rapidly around us. But it's also a moment of opportunity. It's a moment to make something out of yourself. Embrace this disruption, and just embrace what it can bring for you in terms of opportunities, and build strong teams, build strong businesses, and build and use technology in a way that changes human lives. That's where the mission and passion come together to solve challenging problems.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miriam.
It was
great having you.
Lovely to be here with you.
Thank you.